Okay. Welcome, MindGrapes Nation. It is March 19th. My name is Clark Cave, and today I am joined by my co-host and partner, Trent Reece.
We are recording this on Saturday. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
All right, so before we get into what we're going to talk about this week, just want to remind you, if you haven't already, go ahead and download the MindGrapes app, where we discuss and we review the tastiest trends in streaming media on a week-to-week basis. We believe that the best recommendations come from your friends and that tomatoes are things that you should put on your salad. Absolutely. And not get movie reviews from. So just want to remind you that what MindGrapes is, it's an iOS application that allows you to rate, review, and discuss the best movies and TV series. And for all of you out there that are curious, yes, we do have an Android version of MindGrapes in the work. So in the current environment, which is defined by a paradox of choice, where we have almost an infinite amount of movie and TV show streaming choices, we found that we were spending way too much time trying to figure out what we're going to watch next. MindGrapes allows users to explore an up-to-date database of the hottest movies and shows and find out which streaming service they can watch it on. MindGrapers can create watch lists, tell other users what they are currently watching, and offer recommendations on what to watch next and what users should avoid. MindGrapes also acts as an incredible utility for people to decide what they should watch together. So it's great for couples, great for friends, great for those that would like to start a budding relationship with somebody of the opposite sex. All right, so with that out of the way, just wanted to kick it over to Clark. Clark, what's on your MindGrapes this week?
Okay, today on my MindGrapes, so I can pull up my screen, the Dropout. So what Hulu's done, which I find really interesting and also very, very annoying at the same time, they're releasing one episode at a time. I think they knew this Theranos story was just going to be like, it is absolutely, I just can't get enough of it. I'm at a loss for words. Tantalizing? What's the term I'm looking for?
Titillating?
Titillating, yeah. But I'm stuck. I wish I would have found out about this series once it was already done, so I could just binge it all the way through. Yeah. But they just released episode 5. Now she is fully partnered with Walgreens. Uh-huh. I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but spoiler alert: she goes to jail because she defrauds a bunch of people.
Yeah, I think for the majority of watchers of the series, they're familiar with the current events of Theranos and kind of what she did. So I don't think too many spoilers are being thrown out there, but I could be wrong.
She's very, very dislikable in this show. Yeah. Like, Amanda Syfried just does the best job you can imagine. And you start to see the software doesn't work. So she makes a lot of bad engineering decisions, mm-hmm. and then a lot of bad just business decisions, firing the wrong people. And then she gets, I think what ends up happening, she becomes a product of her own success, and she becomes so popular where the marketing really overtakes the actual product. So had she gone into some other industry, she would have probably been really successful. Yeah. But she chose something that couldn't possibly work.
At least at the time, yeah.
At the time,
I think it was a great idea, and honestly, it's probably some tech that in the future is going to be possible for what they're trying to do. And I think it honestly was ahead of its time. But the fact that she tried to force the square peg into the round hole, she burnt so many bridges throughout the process. And honestly just tried to push forward with something that people around her were telling her, like, this is not possible what you're trying to do.
Well, what she did was people were not able to collaborate. Because then everyone would kind of find out, hey, we're just like a house of cards here.
Yeah.
The problem is the tech doesn't work. And with the science that we have right now, it's physiologically impossible mm-hmm. to get a certain type of blood, which stores a certain type of information, like your white blood cells or something like that, out of capillary cells. Mm-hmm. So this is like basic. This is where like LabCorp and Quest Diagnostic, the two big players inside of phlebotomy, like...
I am curious, when all this was going on at the time, what Quest, like, and LabCorp, what they were thinking at the time. Like, were they just sitting back laughing, like, hey, knock yourself out, lady? Like,
I think
we know this is impossible, because if it was possible, we probably would have done it by now.
Yeah. Well, she's a Stanford dropout, so they probably saw there's probably a lot of potential here. She's obviously very smart. Maybe she is so smart she knows something that we don't. Or she's created some type of new science. But just looking at her patents, it was all about the delivery system.
Yeah.
Which it's like you can't do this. And come to find out, I'm not going to spoil it, but there was a lot of fraud that took place, even in her patents. It's just so fascinating.
Can we just talk about one?
Sure.
Like, I hope it's not too much of a spoiler, but the thing that cracked me up was when she was releasing all of these studies, she was cropping photos of pharmaceutical companies and putting them at the top of these study results. Like, Pfizer, like she would put Pfizer's logo at the top of this study, like the study, and Pfizer hadn't worked on this study at all.
Yeah.
And she did that a few different times. Just incredible. And it's like, was that purposeful? Or did she feel like she was backed into a corner and she had to get results from her investors? I don't know. And kind of in the media right now, what you hear about her is she's almost a con artist and almost a sociopath, and that she could convince people that are around her. But just her personality, I find that hard to believe. She seems like a very quiet, reserved individual. And it's like, did she become that person? Or was it just the people around her wanted to believe so bad that, like, hey, this tech is going to work. And they just wanted to believe so bad that they kind of put aside her personality and everything. Like, I'm not saying she's innocent in this whole thing, because she's definitely not.
She was a master manipulator. And that's what's so fascinating. Because if you talk, or if you hear the stories of, what's the guy's name, Howard Schultz? Is that the guy who worked? He was the Secretary of State under Bush 1. I think his name's Howard Schultz, and like, she was able to get him on her board and Henry Kissinger on her board.
Yeah,
and Howard
crazy board.
But no one even attached to science, which was what was so fascinating. But she had the nephew of Howard Schultz come work for her. And he's featured in episode 5.
Yeah.
And I've seen a ton of interviews with this guy. It was very fun.
Yeah. He was one of the guys that he was actually on the 2020 episode that I was talking about last week.
But they apparently would have jokes. It's like, hey man, I'm STD free. I tested myself on an Edison. So it was obviously like these, but he said he would be down in the lab working on the chemistry and saying, this is just, it's not working.
And he was almost laughing about it while he was working there.
But then he'd go up and he'd talk to her, and she'd be like, we're doing this for the world, we're going to fix things. He's like, yeah, he'd get on board with it. And then he'd walk out of the office and be like, wait, it doesn't work.
And like, what was the quote? I think it was from episode 3 that like, this is a giant step in the right direction.
This is a giant step in the right, and a massive leap forward. Gosh, I mean, starting businesses is so freaking hard.
Yes.
And I am of her generation. She and I are of the same exact age. And like, when you see all of these people who are successful. So unsuccessful people don't write leadership books. Only successful people write. So
you would think.
Right. Okay.
There are some people that write leadership books about writing leadership books.
This is true. But for every one Steve Jobs, there's tens of thousands of people who were just not at the right place in the right time.
Yeah.
Maybe they were exactly, I don't know, Steve Jobs may be just that brilliant. But there's a lot of people who we want that recipe for success. And during that time frame, I know we've spent a lot of time on this, but like during that time frame, this is how Facebook and these people were selling these innovations. It's like, we are, move fast and break things. They would sell them in aphorisms or just little short quips, and you thought, maybe I can build a business this way. But there's just so much. There's just such a bedrock of competency you need to build a business on top of in order to be successful. And I think she was given a bunch of money. She passed that money on. She had these huge teams, and then a beautiful buildings and the best equipment. And she had, her company had a Learjet or whatever. But
it's all about that image.
the image was totally there, but you had to. But she was not competent enough to run a business, especially one where your tech wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the Dropout episode 5 just landed. I don't know when. When the next
for those of
episode
you that are sick of hearing us talk about the Dropout, I apologize, but we kind of have to at this point because episodes are being released on a week-to-week basis.
And it's so good.
It is, and it's something that I think it's a topic that we're just interested in. So
okay,
we apologize, but we're going to continue talking about it.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. So I'm gonna lighten up the mood a little bit with some Bachelor talk. So.
All right.
You wanted to introduce why we're watching Love Is Blind, The Bachelor, and
another thing. You guys are probably wondering why a couple of 30-plus-year-old men are here talking about reality, love, dating shows, and we'd like to think of ourselves as somewhat masculine men, right? But hey, we know we do enjoy the occasional reality love TV show.
It's 2022.
Yeah, and plus. We are married men.
Yes.
And a lot of times we make deals with our wives that, we will watch what you want to watch. And in that process, I think we become somewhat emotionally invested as well.
Yes. So you can watch, you're only allowed to watch Marvel if you negotiate.
Yep.
Which is going to be a great new feature, by the way, in MindGrapes with the Great Minds. So I'll just briefly cover the feature. You're going to be able to plan who you watch something with, which will make watching movies far, far simpler. So we like to call it Netflix with skill. So instead of arguing over what you're going to watch next, you can invite someone to watch something with you. And honestly, these features solve personal problems in our lives. My wife and I, we don't like the same things, so we have to negotiate, and which will lead me into one of my future watch list items. But for The Bachelor right now, I'll just say my in-laws are in town, and my father and mother-in-law, they do watch The Bachelor. I don't watch it. I think it is far, far too predictable, and I just have to say, the people on this show have such a limited lexicon. It's almost as if when they're interviewed, they use the same terms and the same words, like, I just need them to be vulnerable, or I just need to be my true, authentic self. Like these abstract terms that really don't mean anything, but you just need to find your truth. Like, they don't really mean anything, but they mean something to someone maybe, or they sound good. With one exception. So I was watching, I guess it was the second to last episode, and there's a girl on the show named Gabby. Did you come across that?
No, I haven't watched this season of The Bachelor, just being fully transparent. I haven't watched Bachelor since I can't even remember what season it was, but it was basically right when they ousted Chris Harrison.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was so much going on with the show that I was like, okay, this whole thing's kind of a joke, and I just haven't picked it up and watched it again. I'm not opposed to watching it, but
I never watched it. But I used to swim with a guy named Baldwin, Commander Baldwin. He's a Navy doctor, and he was The Bachelor apparently years ago. Yeah.
No
so he's
kidding.
in the Navy. I was at Fort Belvoir, and we'd swim together. Here's
the question: did he find the love of his life?
No.
On that show.
But here's the strangest thing: we're sitting in the locker room one time, and I'm like, "Oh man, this doesn't sound right." But I was like, so are you saying maybe you dating someone? Or I asked him, like, are you in a relationship or anything like that? He's like, no, I'm still searching for the one. Like, he had this, he had this loaded response. And I'm like, it sounded like it was from TV. I didn't know he was on I didn't really know that. But anyway, seemed like a cool guy, pretty fast swimmer. I mean, that was basically my interaction.
Another funny thing, I guess it was a couple seasons ago on The Bachelorette. One of my West Point classmates was on the Bachelorette.
Really?
Yeah, and he made it pretty far. I think he made it to the top 3 or whatever.
Are you serious?
Yeah. But he was an artillery officer.
I know who you're talking about.
West Point grad.
Was he the guy who's like, I grew up around strong women?
Yep.
And he went back?
Yeah.
He was so fake, dude.
Yeah, he was an interesting cat, and
So tell me about what was he like?
So one thing about our class is normally classes scramble. So the way that we're situated, we're broken up into companies, and basically you could think of it as a house or something, whatever the civilian equivalent is. And normally they scramble between sophomore year and junior year. Well, we didn't. We stayed in the same company the entire 4 years while we were there. So we were really homogenous, we were really tight-knit group, but we didn't have exposure to people in other companies unless you had classes with them or you played sports with them. So he was my classmate, and I was just like, oh, that's funny, funny that he's on there.
Yeah. He seemed like he didn't want to be there. That's the impression that I got. And
that was the interesting episode. Again, being a dude, I don't know what the contestants' names were. But that was the one where the first Bachelorette, she got hooked on this guy, Dane. And I remember Dane. Immediately. And it was like, okay, 2 episodes into the season, she's like, I'm going to be with Dane. Yeah. And then the whole production crew was like, well, that doesn't help us. We have to film 12 more episodes.
Right. Wasn't she 40?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I think people that follow the show, they saw that they broke up within a couple months of them living together, which always happens with these shows. The whole purpose of these shows aren't to find love. It's to create, clickbaity and entertainment for the viewers that are watching, which they do.
But back to my point, they're this is one of those terms that they just constantly I trust the process, and it's why do you trust a process that never works?
It never works. Yeah.
Dude, are you out of your mind?
Love is Blind. I think there were 6 people that made it past the pods, and 2 of them ended up married.
Yeah.
And those were still pretty rocky.
Yeah. I watched Married at First Sight, which is, they have a group of experts come in and counsel people, and they say, hey, we're going to counsel you in this marriage because we're experts. And it's the season before last in Houston, no one stayed married. It's you guys didn't do a very good job. But I think it's more entertainment value, which is kind of insidious.
Yeah.
You're really playing with this is marriage is really sacred for anyone who's entered into that constitution. It's you can't really mess with it.
Yeah.
And
that's what cracks me up. For those of you that watch Love is Blind, we've touched Love is Blind a couple episodes in the podcast, but going to the reunion episode of Love is Blind, and Shake's whole reaction to that, it's listen guys, the whole purpose of this show isn't to find love, it's for entertainment, and it's so that people can poke fun at us. And he was totally right, but everybody else that was on that reunion episode was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, we want to find love. And you guys, oh, by the way, this is a good plug for follow us on all socials, because we post funny daily content of what we're thinking about with regards to all these shows.
So, what's his name again?
Shake.
I think if he weren't so hated, his opinion may have been taken a little bit more seriously. But he was...
he did it to himself, too.
He did it.
Just kind of a...
he's kind of strange. It's like a foot fetish. He has I want to put someone on my shoulders.
He had
fetish.
A weight fetish. Yeah.
Maybe if he's a DJ, and he said he was he DJ'd alongside Diplo at one point in time, and he sees people out in crowds and they have other people on their shoulders, and it's maybe that's something he wants to be a part of, but he couldn't find anyone who wants to be on his shoulders at a show, which is a really low bar.
It is. It's a weird fetish. Dude, if that's what really, if that's where you're stopping negotiations, and good luck, dude.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any game show that's going to help you really find love, but I guess Deepta, she seemed like she was a real sweetheart, and everyone really loved her, and apparently he was just really cruel. These things you don't, if you're not attracted to someone, you have to find very euphemistic or roundabout ways to...
Which he tried to do the entire series.
Yeah. So there's that fine line between being honest or maybe pointing to something else. What I see on these other shows is their personality's just not there, or their families, or we don't, Shayna and that other guy, she's religion, which I can see as a huge obstruction. If you're as
completely understandable if you're not in different frame of mind when it comes to spirituality. And she was a highly spiritual person, and the other guy was an atheist. obviously, if you are that invested into Christianity, it's not going to work with somebody that thinks you're an idiot for believing that.
Yeah, like if you don't have any respect for their faith. So, and atheism is lazy. I'm just going to put that out there. But so I think he had a point, but I don't think anyone would listen to his point because he was just so hated. And Vanessa, is that her name? Nick Lachey's wife?
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, it's on my. But yeah, she went off on him. This is just so funny. But okay,
it goes back to that meme. Like, why are you booing me? I'm right.
Right. But okay, now let's get into Shane because that was funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
the dude looked physically ill the entire episode.
He's lost a bunch of weight. It seemed like I think he took that breakup really hard, but
he also, like, you could tell during the series, he was a guy that needed constant validation.
Yeah.
Like, do you think I'm hot? Do you think I'm funny? Do you think I'm attractive?
Yeah.
Like, he needed that validation. So I wonder if after the series stopped filming, when he got a chance to watch it, if he was just like so self-conscious about what he saw that he's like, okay, I need to go, I don't know, lose 30 pounds and change my personality. Because his reaction during that episode was just physical illness, head between legs.
I know. It was like he was a 7-year-old in with a psychologist after his parents got divorced or something like that. And he's just like, I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
And his like hair's all over the place. And he's like making all these weird faces. It's like, you must not have seen yourself. Like, I think once you see yourself on TV a little, like you start to change things. People will like lose weight or whatever.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this earlier. The reaction to the baseball, like to the batting practice.
Okay, yeah. So this is something we talked about episode 2 when you were in the hospital.
Right.
That I talked with my wife and with Jackie about was, I'm a conspiracy theorist that I think the whole reason why their relationship didn't work was because he had a bad outing when he was doing batting practice at Wrigley Field. Now, do you understand kind of what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I would be deeply embarrassed if like some of those other guys who were like knock-kneed and like not athletic at all, like were hitting the ball and he didn't get one.
Yeah. Well, and he said like before he went out there too, he's like, "Oh, I played baseball in college."
Did you play baseball at West Point?
I played I was on the team for a period of time.
Okay.
I'm talking like a couple weeks into summer.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, we're cutting the team. Like, we're cutting guys off the team. We over-recruited. I think that was a nice way of saying, like, dude, you're not good enough to play for us.
Did you not? You were a good baseball player.
I was okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But I feel like I could have even, like...
You make contact. Dude didn't even make contact.
He didn't make contact,
which
is strange. Maybe he wasn't... Okay. But nevertheless, that was funny. Okay. Shayna, she's funny. What was she doing with her eyes?
She did that the whole time. It's like she's squinting. You can never see the whites of her eyes. You can never see her pupils. Like, that would drive me crazy if I was in a relationship with a girl like that. Because it's always like they're questioning what you're saying. Or they look uncomfortable. They make you feel like an idiot.
Maybe she's like hiding. If she doesn't have a mask to hide behind, she's like, maybe no one sees me if I play dead. Would you ever go on one of these shows? Have you ever felt?
I just have to say it because my wife listens to this show.
Yeah.
No, because I'm a happily married man.
Theoretically, in a different world or an alternate universe, or at a younger
if I did
age.
go on one of these shows, it wouldn't be to find love. It would be for the same reason that many of these people go on these shows. It's to gain the followers on Instagram. It's to gain a book deal. It's to gain a spin-off series. Or in the Bachelor's case, it's like, okay, I'm one of the contestants trying to win this person's heart. And then, I don't actually want to win. Or if I do win, I'm not going to marry this person because I want a spin-off. I want to be the Bachelor for a future series, a future season. And that's what, I think that's a lot of the motivation for these people.
Yeah. I don't see myself ever doing that.
No.
But I'm also not in marketing. Like I don't have like, if anyone ever finds me on social media, I am completely inactive.
Mm-hmm.
Even my LinkedIn, I don't even pay attention to. So it must be for some type of, validation or something like that, or like to get your face on TV. Anyway, well, okay. So I was going to mention another one of my marriage compromises, which is Siesta Key, but I don't think I can even talk about them. They're just so.
This was something you talked about last week.
It is. It's unwatchable for. I feel I'm not a high IQ individual, but it's unwatchable.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't look at these people. I don't know if it's like beauty and privilege make you dumber or something, but I just.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's set in a really beautiful backdrop, and it has like this kind of brain dead billionaire like guy who's, I think he's like freeloading off his parents, but he's got a great Instagram account. Like his fashion sense, it's not. He wears these white T-shirts around it, and I think he's got kind of like a mullety haircut. Very strange individual. But I mean, he's crazy rich. Bought his girlfriend.
That's all that it takes.
I really do. Honestly, I think there's a faction of society out there where just wealth will get you on a dumb MTV TV show. So but it's not dumber than ridiculousness. I don't know. Have you ever seen that show?
Yeah.
Okay. It seems to be, that's all MTV plays.
It's mental bubblegum. Like I love watching. So I haven't had a TV subscription in years now. Part of the reasons why I love this app so much is that I do streaming.
Right.
I have Hulu, I have Netflix, I have Discovery Plus or whatever it's called. I have all of these streaming services. But if I never knew what to watch when I had a cable subscription, it was like, oh, put on ridiculousness because it's always on MTV.
Always. I think it's so dumb. I'm sorry. Like the guy who's in charge of it,
Rob Dyrdek.
he's like super rich. He's like very successful, but he is like a dumb Tosh.0.
Yeah.
But he just gets up there and he just, oh, look at that. Look what he just did. What a dummy. And then he has these other commentators like, oh, that was so stupid.
Then
it's like,
who's the blonde girl?
I don't know. But she just sits
Chanel.
back.
Or
Chanel. She sits back and giggles.
Is it Chanel? Not sure. I don't know.
But what is she? Have you ever heard an intelligent thought out of?
They put her on there because she has a funny laugh.
Yeah. I mean, if you're just sitting there giggling, it's like you're just, I don't know, monetizing Schadenfreude. Like, I don't. Anyway, so
I think it's mental bubblegum.
it is maybe for some people. It is. I think I look at it from a commercial standpoint or like an entrepreneurial standpoint where how are they making money off of this? But a ton of people must be watching it. And you I mean, I don't know. Anyway, okay. So
I think other people just like to watch, or people like to watch other people get hurt.
Yes. It's called Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
So here's my last one. We crashed.
We crashed.
Yes.
All right.
Can you
Why don't
pull
you get MindGrapes loaded up for me?
It's loaded up. I'm ready to go.
All right. Let me make sure. I see it before.
So, we crashed. Guess what it's about? We work. So they're making a Dropout. Apple TV is making a Dropout version of We Work. I'm going to...
I love that we have all these startup shows now, these docudramas.
They're just awesome. And so I'm not seeing your thing on there.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, never mind. Is it there now?
It's coming.
Anyway, so yeah, it's Jared Leto and let me find her. And Anne Hathaway star in We Crashed.
I'm interested. I want to see this trailer. So sorry for those of you listening.
Are we allowed to play that on YouTube? Can we just do it? We're not going to be monetized. We may get kicked off. We'll cut it in post. Oh wait.
I'm rebooting this right now.
Okay. So, I will read the overview. It is inspired by actual events and the love story at the center of it all. WeWork grew from a single co-working space and global brand into a global brand worth $47 billion in under a decade. Then, in less than a year, its valuation dropped $40 billion. What happened?
I'm intrigued. Again, this goes back to it's the Dropout. It's super pumped. I'm all about these startups that we're familiar with, these now super big companies. But WeWork is still in business to this day, and I guess Uber is too.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Now we're getting loaded. All right, we'll switch over.
So it's not quite. I don't think it's out yet. So if you're for those of you watching, we are on the MindGrapes app. It'll continue to say check for streaming services until it actually comes out. So.
Okay. Now we are live. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna watch this. Trailer.
This is what tomorrow looks like. Let there be lights and wide, open spaces. This isn't a place for people to punch in and out.
WeWork's role is to elevate the world's consciousness.
WeWork isn't just a company. It's a movement. We've got to dream.
Adam will manifest.
Jared Leto.
It's magic.
Anne
Your
Hathaway.
I say we, you say work. We. All you have is me.
You know you're not God, right?
Yeah, you have to admit, I do look a little bit like him.
Well, damn. I don't have an Apple TV subscription, but
You can come over here and watch it.
yeah.
Crazy, right?
It looks awesome.
So Adam, I always forget his last name. Adam Newman was like 6'5". I think Jared Leto is not 6'5".
No,
That's
you
one of
always
those-
add a couple inches in Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the interesting things. And then Rebecca Newman in real life is the cousin of Iron Man's wife. What's her name?
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. Like Iron Man. His wife in Iron Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
What's her name? Here's how we do this. This is because I always forget everyone's name. I go to Iron Man, and then I look at the cast down here, and it is Gwyneth Paltrow. So
okay, yeah.
So Adam Newman's wife is the cousin of Gwyneth Paltrow. So that's
I
just
did
an
see that. So I
interesting-
watched a WeWork documentary a couple years ago. But again, super fascinating story. And they still have offices open to this day, but it's like, he was all about, I'm changing the world. Mm-hmm. And it's like, dude, you sublease.
Yeah.
Essentially.
But that's what they did.
And then they're worth $47 billion.
Yes. Well, so for those of you who can they see the mobile app right now?
Yeah.
So an interesting group that we created, actually our primary developer created, that I love is Frauds and Scandals.
Mm-hmm.
So inside of this group, we encourage people to post the We Crashed and other documentaries or movies that cover fraudsters and scandalous individuals. The College Admission, that one's a great one. But okay, I've belabored my side of the MindGrapes universe far too long. Trent, what is on your mind?
So this worked out perfectly because we are now just over a week away from baby number 2 getting here. So it's been hectic around the Reece house. So I haven't watched too much this week. But one movie that I did watch that I'm super excited about was Angels in the Outfield. For those of you watching on YouTube, this is an Angels hat. I'm a huge baseball fan, like diehard Angels baseball fan, and it's opening week for spring training. So I'm super excited watching all the free agency moves, watching all the trades that are happening within Major League Baseball. So to get my son excited, who is now about 2.5 years old, about baseball, I threw Angels in the Outfield on for him. And of course he loved it. Like, for those of you out there that just like baseball, just like, feel good movies, Angels in the Outfield is a classic. So I was able to find it on TBS streaming. Mm-hmm. It did have commercials, but whatever. I'm okay with that. But one of those movies I haven't watched since I was probably 10 years old. So I was really little, but I remembered almost every scene from that movie perfectly just because I was obsessed with it when I was a little kid. So watched Angels in the Outfield this week. Loved it. Brought so much nostalgia along with it. Highly recommend for those of you out there.
Did you read my review?
Whatever happened to that Joseph Gordon-Levitt? Yeah, actually, one thing I wanted to mention is that when I watched it again, I was like, holy crap, that's Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
You didn't know that?
No, because when I went on MindGrapes, I put on my, I'm just or currently watching, and I'm like, they have a killer cast.
Oh, yeah.
And I found this out because of MindGrapes. You have Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you had Matthew McConaughey, Tony Danza, Willie Glover.
Matthew McConaughey?
Yes.
Oh,
he's
wow.
their center fielder. And I would be very surprised if this wasn't his first movie, because he had maybe half a dozen lines in the entire movie.
Matthew McConaughey's first movie was the Dazed and Confused. I do know that.
Do you? Okay, so it was one of his very, very early movies.
Yeah. But, yes, Dazed and Confused was his first movie. Angels in the Outfield was his second movie.
But again, love this movie. They had a killer cast. It's a Disney movie, and the whole reason that the movie is on the Angels is because at the time, Disney owned Angels. Yeah. The Angels. Actually, this might have been just before Disney owned the Angels. Gene Autry owned the Angels, but he might have done a deal with Disney to do a movie on the Angels. So,
how is it not? I guess Disney doesn't own it anymore?
No, they sold it to Artie Moreno. After the Angels won the World Series.
Yeah.
In 2002.
Well, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so Angels in the Outfield. Love that. Got my kid all excited about watching baseball. And as soon as we finish this podcast, I'm going to go home and watch Angels spring training game. So watch that. I did watch one episode of Bad Vegan. Mm-hmm. It's a movie that I found thanks to G-Day on the Frauds and Hucksters group on MindGrapes. So watch one episode. It's kind of interesting. I mean, I might finish the series. So yeah, that not as good as some of the other movies that we've been talking about, but it's been really tough this week to get on and really invest myself in new movies and shows.
Well, you're a father and you're about to be a father of two, so I can totally. And you're getting a master's in health and business. I'm going to add this to my watch list because I would definitely want to see that. Mm-hmm. Cool. Is it out? It's already on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
So, what else do we have? Anything else on your MindGrapes?
Not from this end, I think.
Actually, I'm going to look for. I'll show people how to find other people. I'm going to find Trent really quick. Go to his. You got an A now, by the way. That's
I know.
Nice.
I'm maybe 10 points away from getting an A+.
You are 10 points away from getting an A+. So you got Bad Vegan. Oh, yeah, Gaming Wall Street.
Still didn't finish I think there's only 2 episodes.
We talked about that. Super pumped. Okay, cool. Yeah, you got some winners on there.
And that's one of the benefits of MindGrapes is being a busy dad. You have so many movies that you're seeing when you're streaming through these, when you're scrolling through these streaming services. You're like, oh, that looks interesting. I might want to watch that. Yeah. Throw it on the watch list. Mm-hmm. You can go back when you have a second to yourself, and you can watch it then.
Yeah, instead of saying, that looks interesting. Yeah. Totally forgetting
as I'm scrolling through all the choices on Netflix just to find Pocoyo for my son to watch, because that's what I end up watching most of the time.
Exactly. I'll just go ahead and say you might want to skip Marry Me unless that's something Johnny wants to watch.
Should I just take it off?
It's up to you, man. Okay, so for those of you also listening out there, here's something I tend to do. I've got probably more than my fair share of things. I have 104 items on my watch list, all of which are super cool. This the Joe Exotic one, that one kind of looks funny. Ultimatum, that's another Nick Lachey.
Yeah, and that's one that we found at the end of the final episode of Love is Blind. They did a preview for this show.
So you know the plot of this one?
Yes. Yeah. So it's it's probably a dozen couples. One of them is one of the people in the relationship is ready to get married. Mm-hmm. The other is not, or they're holding off for whatever reason. And so they get these couples together in like a fun environment, and the whole premise is, okay, well, you can decide if you want to marry the person that you've been with all this time, but we're also going to put you together with these other people and see if you like them more, right? Is that the basic premise?
For like 3 weeks, they're going to switch partners up. It's either 3 or 6 weeks, and they're going to live with the other person.
That sounds like a great idea.
I mean, versus getting engaged through a wall. They just know this is. I don't know. This is
they
like
want the drama.
This is catnip. Mm-hmm. This is streaming catnip, where you produce.
Dare I say, mental bubble gum?
Exactly, but you produce 7 episodes, and I hate to say it, you get to know people in the first episode, mm-hmm. and then you start to build a relationship, and. I guess I'm fooled every time by it. I enjoy it. I really just enjoy watching that. So I'm definitely going to watch that. That's stuff that I can compromise on.
Did they say when
with
it's going to release?
No. We could watch a trailer, but I don't exactly know when that's going to release. But cool. Also, so if you are looking for things, something that is interesting, if you go to the search option here, the third one over on the footer, and for those of you listening in, there's only 4 options along the footer: Universe, Friends, and You. If you go to search, you'll see trending, popular, and weekly top 10. The weekly top 10 is actually getting better and better.
Mm-hmm.
We discussed Nathan For You last time, but you're starting to see as more people participate in MindGrapes, you may find things that...
And that's one thing that we're seeing is more and more people join the app and start communicating, start making recommendations. Like, this app is just getting so much fun.
Yeah, but you also there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I need to see Batman. That's still in theaters. So,
my barber actually asked me. He's on the MindGrapes app, and as I was walking out yesterday from my appointment or from my haircut, he asked if I had watched Batman yet, and I said no, I haven't. But he said it's really good. So one of those movies that I might go see in theaters. Yeah. I haven't been to the theaters since before Emmett was born. It's been 2.5 years since my wife and I have been to the movies.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I think for all of our parents out there that are listening, like, I just get, I get so scared to go to the movies because I'm afraid that my kid is going to freak out while we're in there. And I don't want to be that parent that has a screaming child in the first row.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're welcome, everybody out there.
Yeah, right. You're doing a debt. You have it's a debt to society. Mm-hmm. Okay. So also another fun thing, and we are not. I think we call ourselves diet social media because we don't necessarily get into politics or the other things that can. I don't know. We're not super superficial, but I think we're great social media for old people that have other things going on, but at least enjoy Hollywood to some extent. And I'll tell you, I do get kind of lost in the popular actor section where you go through and you can see basically trending actors. You can search any actors, but like if we were to go into Jennifer Connelly, we can read about Jennifer Connelly, where she came from.
And you can stay up to date on current news too, right?
Yes.
Like what's going on with these actors and actresses.
See the images, and then you can see she has like 7 celebrity news stories about her. I guess the Snowpiercer. I never got into the Snowpiercer thing, but one of these days, once we get Jennifer Connelly on MindGrapes, she can improve her F- to a better score.
Yeah.
But
another cool feature about the MindGrapes app is, when it gains more traction, gets more users, and actors and actresses start joining the app, they already have a page that's built for them, and it can gain followers, and they can communicate directly with their fans on the app.
Yeah, and you're not talking about politics or the divisive things that we've been talking, that seem to pollute other social media platforms. This movie Bliss, by the way, I'm going to give it a thumbs up. That was a really good one. I think it was
Owen
like
Wilson, huh?
it was like an allegory on drugs and I think narcotics.
Oh, I watched
really
that.
good.
It was kind of a
It's very
It was really trippy.
super underrated too. I guess it doesn't. Its IMDb rating was 5.4.
I liked it.
IMDb typically does a better job than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. How are we on time?
I liked it. We're right at about 45 minutes.
Okay,
so.
man. Well, let's go ahead and wrap things
All
up.
right.
Just if you're still with us, especially big shout out to the MHA MBA Baylor class. I know some of you guys are listening to this podcast, so we really appreciate your support. Trent?
Yeah, thanks for listening. If you haven't already, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. We post daily updates on there, and we're looking for more engagement. We're looking for recommendations, what you think we can do better. And again, as more people start using this app, it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, and follow us on MindGrapes. I'm at Clark_Cave, and you are
at Trent_Reece.
Thank you so much. Okay.
All right.
Have a wonderful weekend.